Welcome everyone and welcome to our live coverage of Starlink 17-5 mission launch from the West Coast, that is from Pad Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. If this is your first time here, hi, my name is Dipta Maitra, performing the commentary for today's mission launch, and you are watching AstroYonder live.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around.
Houston, we see a nominal MECO. Welcome to space.
Hope you all are doing fine and excited about the upcoming SpaceX Starlink launch. Today, it's the 100th Falcon 9 launch, so you can say it's a special one for SpaceX as it's for us. Now, today we are super excited bringing you the coverage of SpaceX's 528th overall launch and the 100th Falcon 9 launch of this year. SpaceX just recently had their 100th successful mission launch for this year with the recent KF2 mission, that is for the launch of Kuiper satellites, which marked the planned second of the three Kuiper satellites launched by SpaceX on Falcon 9. Now Falcon 9 is awaiting to reach the same milestone with only one more launch to go. With today's launch, it will be reaching the 100th launch of the Falcon 9 for this year. Today, it also marks the 35th launch from Vandenberg for SpaceX as they continue building their incredible launch cadence for this year. In another way, today's launch is a special one. Apart from Falcon 9 reaching its 100th launch of this year, as it marks the 6th mission to a Sun-Synchronous orbit, with first being Starlink Group 17-1 launch in over 2 years since 2023 Group 3 launches with version 1.5 Starlink satellites variant. This is also the 6th time the version 2 mini variant is heading to an Sun-Synchronous orbit, and this launch is significant as it targets a near polar orbit with 97.6 degrees inclination, designated to enhance Starlink's coverage over remote polar regions and to achieve Starlink's aim of zero dead zones. Previously, apart from Group 17 launches targeting the Sun-Synchronous orbit, the recent Starlink Group 13-4 also got launched to the same Sun-Synchronous orbit with same altitude and inclinations. So including today's launch, it's a 6th for Starlink satellites, specifically the version 2 minis, to reach Sun-Synchronous orbit. Well, we will dive into the details shortly. Right now, we are standing by for a Falcon 9 liftoff from California at 9:26 a.m. Pacific time, 12:26 p.m. Eastern time for a southwesternly launch for SpaceX Starlink mission. Today's Starlink Group 17-5 mission will launch a batch of 24 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. Now, before we dive into the mission details, on behalf of our entire AstroYonder team and our awesome moderators, want to thank all of you joining us for today's launch. We are so grateful to have you as part of the stream. Really appreciate you being here. Also, a huge shout out to our amazing YouTube community for the support as we bring you detailed coverage of space launches with all the stats and in-depth insights. Really grateful to have you all here with us as we move towards the countdown together. Would really appreciate if you guys could join the chat and let us know where you are joining from. And also, please feel free to share any questions, suggestions, or opinion with us that will help us to improve our stream, to know you, and also to know your perspective. Would be super excited to hear from you guys. Now, would like to welcome Mark Sikh for joining us. Although Mark Sikh, I am not understanding what you meant by your comment on the chat, but thanks for showing up on the chat and for tuning in to AstroYonder. If you have something to say, Mark Sikh, please, we would like to request you to elaborate that a little bit so that we can understand what you meant by that comment on the chat section. Now let's move ahead once again. Just a heads up, it's me only managing the launch coverages on my own. So if by chance, although the chances are less, but still, if we face any technical issues, please bear with me and be tuned in. There is absolutely nothing to worry. You won't miss out anything. I will do my best to guide you through the upcoming Falcon 9 rocket launch happening in approximately 39 minutes from now. Just a reminder, SpaceX is currently targeting a liftoff time of Falcon 9 from Vandenberg Space Force Base at 9:26 a.m. Pacific Time, 12:26 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, August 18th of 2025. Now let's get into the mission details. As we don't receive the launch weather forecast for Vandenberg flights from 45th Weather Squadron, but so far the report suggests that the weather is looking good for today's Falcon 9 launch opportunity and the range is ready to support. Weather officials always keeping a keen eye on the weather for any probability of launch weather constraint and range violations. The forecast calls for a temperature of 15 degrees Celsius, broken clouds with 60% cloud cover and a wind speed of 8 miles per hour. Currently, it's a 95% go for the launch, but anyways, we hope that they will be able to launch on time and not have to push off too far. But generally, we do see nowadays that during Vandenberg flights, SpaceX do adjust their liftoff time, but currently they are sticking with their current liftoff time of 9:26 a.m. Pacific Time, 12:26 p.m. Eastern Time. So now let's take a look at the payload details for today's Starlink Group 17-5 mission. The Starlink satellites are built in Redmond, Washington. Today's payload consists of 24 Starlink version 2 mini satellites. Now, I would like to emphasize it's version 2 mini satellites, not the optimized ones. Today's launch is the 72nd dedicated Starlink mission of the year and the 291st dedicated Starlink launch in total for SpaceX. Now, before discussing any further about the payload, once again, just a reminder, today's payload does not consist of any newer optimized Starlink version 2 mini satellites, and today's payload does not consist any direct-to-cell satellites as well. These are the regular and basic version 2 mini variants of the Starlink satellites. Before today's launch, SpaceX had already sent up 1,762 Starlink satellites in 2025 alone this year. And with this one, the count jumps to 1,786, crossing that 1,500 mark. And if we include the 22 version 3 variants launched on the previous 3 Starship flights this year, then it's a total of 1,808 Starlink satellites launched this year. We must agree that's an astounding pace Also, SpaceX confirmed that in the upcoming 10th Starship flight test, a total of 8 Starlink simulators will be launched. These are the same like that which we saw in the previous test flights, the similar size of the next version, that is the version 3 variants. Now about today's payload, each of these Starlink satellites have 5 advanced Ku band phased array antennas, 3 dual band parabolic antennas utilizing Ka and E bands, and a dual solar array that spreads out to about 100 feet wide with a total surface area of 52.5 square meters. Also, not to forget, these two solar arrays are aeroneutral. That means it enables faster on-orbit maneuvers for the satellites. Each satellite is equipped with a high-capacity battery to provide power to the payloads. Each Starlink satellite features 3 space laser transponders, also known as optical inter-satellite links, for intercommunications, for communicating with space lasers moving data up to speeds up to 200 Gbps. They make use of argon-fueled Hall effect thrusters for in-orbit maneuvering, previously which was krypton-based, and this switch was mainly due to the cost effectiveness argon provides compared to krypton. Well, I'm just giving a short context that why this switch was made. Basically, relative to krypton, the argon required to fuel Starlink version 2 satellites will be practically free. Now, to put it into perspective, fueling its next constellation of almost 30,000 version 2 satellites could cost SpaceX less than fueling 4,000 version 1 satellites, which were previously based on Krypton. Also, SpaceX claims that its second generation thrusters using argon has 2.4 times the thrust and 1.5 times the specific impulse of previously Krypton fueled thrusters. Now, again, just a quick reference. Currently, SpaceX Starlink is based on argon-fueled Hall effect thrusters, whereas the recent Kuiper launches, the Kuiper satellites are based on Krypton. Previously, SpaceX Starlinks were based on Krypton-fueled thrusters, but they switched to argon. But currently, Kuiper satellites are based on Krypton. Now, before moving on, would like to welcome William Evans. Well, William, thanks for tuning in once again. And I know from here where you are tuning from. Already we met before, but thanks for tuning in and hope you'll be enjoying the stream. Now, moving on with the payload details. Today's batch is going to be deployed initially in an orbit with an altitude of approximately 267 kilometers with an inclination of 97.61 degrees. But the operational orbit will be up around 560 kilometers with the same inclination of 97.61 degrees. Each version 2 mini satellite weighs approximately 1,763 pounds, equivalent to 800 kilograms. Now, once again, here just for a quick context, each of the optimized version of the Starlink satellites, which recently SpaceX is launching, each of them weighs around 1,268 pounds, equivalent to 575 kilograms, which is about 22% lighter than the original version 2 mini design, which today's payload is. This Starlink satellite uses custom-built star tracker to find their position, altitude, and orientation for optimal broadband throughput. Each one has 4 reaction wheels for precise attitude control, or you can say the orientation control, plus a hot spare setup for its reliability. Now, additionally, they have an onboard autonomous collision avoidance system that uses the US Department of Defense debris tracking database for avoiding collisions with space junk, space junk, other spacecraft, and other Starlink satellites as well, all autonomously. Now, to understand why an autonomous collision avoidance system is so significant, again, I'm giving a quick bit of context. SpaceX last year gave a report that Starlink satellite carried out about 275 collision avoidance maneuvers every single day. And in that course of previous 6 months, when this report got published last year, the Starlink satellites in total performed around 50,000 such collision avoidance maneuvers. So I hope these reported numbers made you understand the importance and criticality of an onboard autonomous collision avoidance system and put things into perspective. Hopefully that gives you a bit of insight. Now, just some quick fun facts as it's worth mentioning today. Recently, on this year, starting this year on January 21st, 2025, with group Starlink Group 11-8, SpaceX launched 27 optimized version 2 mini satellites for the first time. And later on May 4th, 2025, SpaceX broke its own record by launching 29 version 2 mini optimized satellites, surpassing the previous high of 28. As of now, that is the biggest batch yet for the version 2 mini variant. In comparison, the highest for version 1 is 60 satellites, and for version 1.5 it's 56. Now once again I will be repeating what I said, is that starting this year on January 21st with group 11-8, SpaceX started to launch the optimized version 2 mini satellites for the first time. But before today's launch of the Starlink Group 17-5, SpaceX launched 37 times of its optimized version 2 mini variants, bringing the total to 1007 number of satellites. Well, we must agree that it's another milestone, crossing the 1000 mark just for the optimized Starlink version 2 mini launches. Now, as I mentioned about the optimized version of the satellites, once again, just to clarify, today's payload does not consist of any upgraded optimized version 2 minis or any direct to cell satellites on board. This batch features the regular baseline version 2 mini satellites. Now, as today's payload does not consist of the optimized version, so we won't be discussing about the optimizations being made. Now let's move on and take a look at the flight record for the booster supporting today's Starlink 17-5 mission. The booster with tail number 1088 supporting today's mission. You can say young booster it is, with 8 previous flights in its record, including 4 non-Starlink missions, like 2 national security missions, that is for National Reconnaissance Office NROL missions 126 and 57, 1 SpaceX's Rideshare Transporter 12 mission, and NASA's SpaceX and Punch mission. Additionally, this booster supported 4 Starlink missions as well prior to this mission, currently awaiting its 9th flight, approximately 27 minutes away from now. The last mission supported by today's booster was the Starlink Group 15-7 from here at Vandenberg back on 28th of June 2025. Now, it's worth mentioning that these boosters All of its 8 previous launches are from here at Vandenberg itself. Today, it marks the booster's 8th flight of this year and its overall 6th landing on, of course, I Still Love You droneship, with 3 previous land landings on landing zone 4. The booster's turnaround time as of today is 51 days. Also, something interesting is there about this booster. Previously, the booster on its 4th flight with NROL-57 mission, just after supporting NASA's SpaceX mission, made a new record for the quickest booster turnaround time of 9 days, 3 hours, and 39 minutes, reducing the previous record time by around 4 days. Before that, the quickest booster turnaround time was 13 days, 12 hours, and 34 minutes, and that record was held by booster with tail number 1080 on its 13th flight between Starlink Group 6-69 and Group 12-1 mission. So that's all about the booster supporting today's mission. Now let's move on and take a look at the bar graph showing the number of Falcon 9 launches each year. Before this upcoming launch, SpaceX completed its 99th Falcon 9 launch for this year with Starlink Group 10-20 mission, which got launched from Cape Canaveral on 14th of August 2025. SpaceX currently is now having 38 more than the launches made in year 2022 and 3 more number of launches made in 2023. But with today's upcoming launch, SpaceX's Falcon 9 will be having its 100th launch for 2025. As of now, SpaceX is less than halfway to reach the number of launches made last year, that is in 2024. With today's Starlink Group 17-5 mission, SpaceX will be just 32 behind of 2024's total. This year again they are aiming to surpass their last year's highest annual launch count of 134 launches in total, which includes 2 Falcon Heavy missions. It's an ambitious target, but and they are targeting around 170 launches. It's quite ambitious, but according to current launch cadence of SpaceX, hopefully they will pull it off. Now, just to remind you, SpaceX hit some major milestones this year, and I must say this year is being quite a record breaker one for SpaceX, with the commercial GTO-1 launch marked the 500th successful Falcon 9 mission, while June 12th Starlink launch from Vandenberg became the 500th overall successful mission for SpaceX. Then just a day later on June 13th, with the Cape Canaveral launch of Starlink, they completed the first generation of their direct-to-cell constellation. Back-to-back incredible achievements for SpaceX this year, and we are just 22 minutes away to reach another milestone for SpaceX. Well, like other streams, I will be skipping the pre-launch timeline as it's a typical Falcon 9 launch for Starlink with absolutely no deviations in any of the pre-launch events. But you can track the pre-launch timeline updating live on the upper left hand side of your screen. However, there is one minor difference in pre-launch time pre-launch timeline, and I must highlight just for quick knowledge, and I'm pretty sure you are already aware of it, that the strong back reclining process at Vandenberg differs from that at Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center. Here at Vandenberg, we recline the strong back about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9, whereas at Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center, we recline the strong back about a degree and a half or two from the Falcon 9. So that's the only difference in today's pre-launch schedule, as this is a Vandenberg flight. Now just a second, let me check if the liftoff time is currently same or not. Yep, it's same, no issues. Everything is fine. Just to remind you, SpaceX is currently targeting a liftoff time of Falcon 9 from Vandenberg Space Force Base at 9:26 a.m. Pacific Time, 12:26 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, August 18th of 2025. Now, just a humble request to all of you joining us right now. Having your support inspires us to push forward and give our best to meet your hope, what you hope for. If this, please excuse me, my mic got turned off on its own. If this stream fuels your love for space, give this stream a like. It's kind of fine tuning the trajectory of our mission to build a community with amazing space enthusiasts just like you. And please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so that you won't miss a single launch update. Here at AstroYonder, we believe together we will build the ultimate constellation of space enthusiasts. Would be super happy and grateful to have you with us in our uh, journey of upcoming launches together. Now we are approximately 13 minutes away from SpaceX to start their broadcast. So before that, let's wrap up with all the stats and insights we have for you to share with. Now let's go ahead and briefly step through the trajectory for today's Starlink mission. Falcon 9 leaving the pad from Space Launch Complex 4 East from Vandenberg Space Force Base with the batch of 24 Starlink satellites for a southwest trajectory, drifting away from the coast of Southern California, heading into a low Earth orbit, that is to the 17th shell of second generation Starlink mega constellation, indicated by that green line on your screen. The red line you see on your screen is where Falcon 9's first stage will land after stage separation, just a little later, leaving California's coast. This is going to be a off the land landing, a droneship landing, and today here at the west coast, as always, it's being supported by a short. Excuse me. Of course, I still love you, droneship here at the west coast, and today, of course, I Still Love You will be having its 146th droneship landing if all goes well and it's a successful landing happens. Now, some recovery specifics, although I know it's quite technical, but just for some space nerds just like me who are joining us right now, the planned booster recovery is approximately 595 kilometers, with estimated fairing recovery approximately 650 kilometers downrange. And the stage 2 debris reentry will be in the South Pacific Ocean on its second orbit. Now moving on about droneship, here are some of the stats related to droneship, SpaceX droneships as of today. Currently, we know there are 3 in SpaceX's droneship fleet, but we still anticipate the addition of a 4th droneship as promised by SpaceX earlier. But as of now, we are not getting any information regarding that, so we can't say for sure that when it will be happening. But just a speculation. It's on my opinion. Basically, it can happen possibly late this year or early next year. Today, as mentioned before, the mission is being supported by, of course, I Still Love You droneship, is which is based here at California. Other two, Just Read the Instructions and a shortfall of Gravitas, are based in Florida. Now, moving on, let's talk a little bit about the fairing recovery. SpaceX, as always, will utilize a recovery vessel to retrieve the fairing halves. And for today, they will be recovering the fairing halves from the Pacific waters. The two halves of the payload fairing will be recovered slightly farther, approximately 55 kilometers downrange from where the first stage lands on the drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You, after they will smoothly splash down with the guidance of parachutes. SpaceX manufactures these fairing halves in-house, with total cost of two halves is nearly $6 million. So it's no wonder that's why SpaceX aims to recover the fairings for repetitive use, which of course mirrors their approach with rocket boosters, upholding the motto of reusability and sustainability. Now, on your screen, you can see how a fairing recovery looks like. Although apart from this image, we don't have any other image to show you that how a fairing recovery looks like. This image got published by SpaceX in public domain. That's what we can show to you. Although the recovery vessel on your screen is dug, performing the recovery operations, but today's supporting recovery vessel is go beyond here at the Pacific. Now just a second, I'm seeing this camera is flickering here for what? Just a second, guys. Sorry for the interruption. Let me see if this resolves the issue. All and I was talking about the fairing recovery operations. Although on your screen the recovery vessel is dug performing the recovery operations, but today's supporting recovery vessel is go beyond here at the Pacific. Other recovery vessels at the East Coast, Bob, Doug, and Go Cosmos, are currently awaiting for its next assignment. Here are some of more images so that you can get a good insight about how these fairing recovery operations happens. Now, if you feel we are adding value to your viewing experience, please consider giving this stream a like. It's kind of a fuel for YouTube's algorithm rocket to bring in more space lovers and helping rocket fans discover this stream. It also helps others to join our community with amazing space enthusiasts like you right now joining us. And as we are burning our all day propellant to bring you detailed streams packed with stats and insights, your little bit of kind support would really inspire us and to keep up with our hard work to meet your expectations. Now, once again, before proceeding, let's me check if the liftoff time is still the same or not, and to keep ourselves updated. Yes, it's still the same. No worries. We are 6 minutes away from SpaceX to start their webcast. So let's move on and let's discuss some of the stats related to today's mission. Today's launch marks the 528th SpaceX's overall launch and the 72nd dedicated Starlink launch of this year. This is going to be the 515th Falcon 9 launch to date. The ninth flight of this particular Falcon 9 booster supporting today's mission, with tail number 1088 being in action after 51 days. Today's launch marks 100th Falcon 9 launch and SpaceX's 103rd overall launch of 2025. This will be the 454th Falcon booster reflight to date. That is a launch of a booster that has flown at least once before. And possibly, as of now, we don't have any details regarding this upcoming USSF 36 launch, which is currently targeting to have the launch no earlier than August 21st from Launch Complex 39A, launching the 8th orbital transfer vehicle manufactured by Boeing for United Space Force for its um, you can say secretive mission and experiments. That's X37B space plane it is. And what I was saying, that I guess the booster in that launch for USSF 36 will be expanded, as we previously saw in previous OTV launches for USSF missions. Now coming back to today's launch details and stats. Today it will be the 141st orbital launch for SpaceX, launching from Space Launch Complex 4 East, and the 209th overall orbital launch from Pad Sleep 4 East. With the success of this mission, SpaceX will have a remarkable 9,440 Starlink satellites, which includes 674 dedicated direct-to-cell satellites launched to date. Once again, just to remind you, back in June 13, 2025 this year, with Starlink Group 12-26 launch from Cape, SpaceX completed the first generation of their direct-to-cell constellation. Now moving on to some reusability statistics. This launch marks the 438th Falcon 9 booster reflight to date. And as I mentioned before, it will be the 146th landing of the first stage booster on, of course, I Still Love You droneship. 9th landing of this first stage booster with tail number 1088 supporting today's mission. And with this mission's first stage landing, SpaceX will be having their 396th overall droneship landing. That marks 469th Falcon 9 landing so far and the 488th SpaceX's overall landing to date. Soon, SpaceX will be reaching the milestone of their 400th overall droneship landing, currently just 5 behind of that 400 mark. Now, just a quick note, we are not counting the landing failure that happened this year on Just Read the Instructions droneship during Starlink Group 12-20 mission, as it was a partial success. So hopefully you already noticed there is a difference of 1 in the Falcon 9 and overall landing stats compared to what that is listed on SpaceX's website. So please don't get confused with those numbers. Speaking of landing, here are some of the stats for droneship landings prior to today's mission. Today it's, of course, I Still Love You in action, which previously had 145 successful landings prior to this launch out of 152 overall landing attempts to date, and previously just supported the recent Starlink Group 17-5 mission. Now moving on, we have some of the stats for SpaceX launches specifically for 2025, including this mission as well. With today's mission, SpaceX will be having its 103rd launch of this year, and out of those, 72 are Starlink missions, including this one. 28 were non-Starlink missions for commercial and government organizations, and 3 Starship launches. 94 of these missions using a reuse booster, including today's one as well. And if we look into the geographical distribution of these launches, SpaceX is having 65 launches from East Coast. On the West Coast, with today's launch, they will be having 35 launches. As of now, 3 launches from Gulf Coast at Starbase in Texas, 2 Super Heavy booster catches for Starship's 7th and 8th test flights. And on previous Flight 9, no Super Heavy booster catch was attempted. And similar that will be happening on the upcoming Starship 10th flight test that is targeting no earlier than uh, August 24th. Now for landings, they will be nailing it for the 98th time this year. Most of the landings are on droneship with 86 landings. As of now, shortfall of Gravitas and of course AstroYonder droneship, both of them are having same number of landings being made on them this year. That is 29 times, leading among the droneship fleet. But with today's landing on, of course, AstroYonder, the droneship at the West Coast will be leading with 30 landings. For ground landings, they pulled off 12 of them, where landing zone 1 had its 6th landing for this year and a total of 53 landings on it, with SpaceX's Crew 11 launch, but that marked the last landing for landing zone 1 for SpaceX. SpaceX confirmed that they will be continuing with the booster landing operations at the landing zone 2. Now I guess it's time for the webcast to begin. Let me just quickly check it. Yes, it's rolling in. So let's move on the webcast, and please provide me a couple of seconds to set up the stream for you. Well, you are not missing out anything. Currently SpaceX is playing some pre-launch tunes, so nothing to worry. So there we go, we have the stream online. Absolutely wonderful day, quite sunny and clear. We heard the call out. Currently we are pressurizing the tanks for strong back retract. Here we add a little bit of gas to those tanks so that it can stiffen up.
Strong back retract has started.
And there we go, we have the retraction of the strong back process. Now, while we are watching this sunny view of the Falcon 9, a couple of important steps were completed. The spacecraft team switched to internal power a couple of minutes ago. Fueling of the Falcon 9's first stage is finished. That means all the RP-1 propellant is now currently on board. We are still loading the liquid oxygen on both the first and second stages, and will be listening in a couple of minutes for the LOX load completion for both the stages. Also, we are chilling the 9 Merlin engines on the first stage back from T-7 minutes. That's when we open up the pre-valves that allows the propellant down to the engines to get them prepared for the ignition just before the liftoff. And we got the call out, stage 1 LOX load is complete. Soon we will be listening in couple of seconds from now, just inside T minus 2 minute mark, for the call out for the LOX load completion for the second stage. Following that, we will be venting down the pressure that will be remaining in the tubing on the strong back, and for that's why we will be soon able to see those white clouds. Well, we are about to get. There we go. We got the call out. Stage 2 LOX load is complete. So currently, all the propellants are now on board the Falcon 9. And right now you can see that white cloud coming out there, which is an healthy indicator of launch coming up. Next T minus 1 minute, we should hear the call out that Falcon 9 flight computers are in startup and controlling the rocket for the remainder of the countdown. Currently on board the Falcon 9, it's 1 million pounds of propellant.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Right on time. Falcon 9 flight computers on both the stages are running the rocket to the last minute of count. Now let's listen to the go call out from SpaceX launch director.
Launch director, go for launch.
That's also quite on time. SpaceX launch director giving the final go for the launch. We are getting close to T minus 30 seconds. All systems continues to remain go for the launch of Falcon 9 with a batch of 24 Starlink satellites for Starlink Group 17-5 mission launching from Vandenberg Space Force Base.
Minus 15 seconds.
Fine.
T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Go Falcon, go Starlink. Falcon is pitching downrange. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Absolutely magnificent views they are providing today. Really, these ground tracking views up there for the Falcon 9. We just had a successful liftoff and cleared the tower successfully. Really awesome views. And daytime launches for Falcon 9 are my personal favorite. We are currently 42 seconds into the flight. We are into a throttle bucket. We are throttling down the 9 Merlin engines, preparing for the period of maximum dynamic stress coming up. Some good callouts we get. Power, telemetry, and propulsion all are nominal.
Falcon is supersonic.
Falcon 9 being supersonic, that means we have exceeded Mach 1 on Falcon 9.
Max Q.
Max Q call out there. Right now we are through the period of maximum dynamic stress on vehicle. We have throttled the 9 Merlin engines back up to full power. Awesome views from these ground tracking views, or previously they were not providing ground tracking views from Vandenberg, but they are providing, where that's quite a nice thing. And currently we did got a call out for MVAC engine chill, so we started to chill down the MVAC engine on the second stage prior to its ignition. That will be happening just after stage separation. So coming up, 3 events in rapid succession: the shutdown of main engine on first stage, that is main engine cutoff, which is also known as MECO, followed by stage separation, and then the ignition of the second stage MVAC engine, and that event is also known as SES-1, which will boost the payload into low Earth orbit. So let's listen to those callouts while we enjoy these magnificent views. We'll be getting some awesome views from both the stages today.
Main engine cut off.
Stage separation.
MVAC ignition.
There we go. We got all the callouts for back-to-back milestones. MECO, stage separation, and MVAC ignition. Right now on the left-hand side, you can see those titanium grid fins to slowly begin deploying now that the stage separation is successful. Next, expecting the confirmation call out for fairing separation.
Fairing separation.
We got the call out that the fairing has successfully separated, and we can see even one of the fairing half falling there on the right hand side of your screen. If you noticed, right now we are looking at the views from both the stages. First, Falcon 9 on the left hand side, Falcon 9's first stage is currently continues under the guidance of grid fins and gravity as it descends back to Earth. And if you will be noticing at the bottom left hand side of your screen, the altitude, the maximum it will be showing before decreasing, that will be the apogee for the Falcon 9's first stage before descending back towards the landing on droneship. Of course, I still love you, station in the Pacific Ocean. Second stage, meanwhile, in the middle of its 6-minute burn, is on its way into the parking orbit, providing us some spectacular views as well. Next major milestone in today's flight we'll be looking for is the start of stage 1 entry burn. Meanwhile, just a reminder, we previously saw Group 14 being skipped entirely, with SpaceX jumping straight to Group 15 launches. Is the same that happened with Group 16 being entirely skipped and moving on with Group 17 launches. Today's mission marks the 6th Starlink mission to Sun-Synchronous orbit inclination, with the first being Starlink Group 17-1 launch in over 2 years following the Group 3-5 launch back in 2023. Previously, we had 5 launches under Group 3, each deploying 46 numbers of version 1.5 Starlink satellites to a Sun-Synchronous orbit at an altitude of 560 kilometers with 97.6 degrees inclination. Similarly, today's Group 17-5 mission will target a near polar orbit with same inclination as well as the same altitude. This Sun-Synchronous orbit is intended to improve Starlink's coverage in remote polar regions. Previously, Sun-Synchronous orbit launches were for version 1.5 variant, but this time, beginning with Group 17 launches, it's going to be for the version 2 minis. The recent Starlink Group 13-4 also got launched to Sun-Synchronous orbit, which I was mentioning earlier in the stream, with the same inclination of 97.6 degrees. And just to update you guys on that Group 13-4 launch, two classified payloads were also present on that Starlink Group 13-4 launch. We got the call out stage 1 entry burn startup. So here we just lit 3 of the 9 Merlin engines on the first stage. We are rapidly slowing down the vehicle. You can, and we got the call out for stage 1 entry burn shutdown as well. And that burn for stage 1 entry burn lasted 23 seconds around. Now, just a heads up, we heard stage 1 FTS being saved. Coming up, we will be hearing stage 2 FTS being saved, which means that the stage 2 went through its orbital insertion burn. Next, expecting the call out for stage 1 being transonic. We are about to get some awesome views from Falcon 9's first stage as it will be descending
Stage 1 transonic.
back to its landing site, piercing through those cloud cover out there. We got the call out stage 1 being transonic. That means
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
Falcon 9 is traveling. Falcon 9's first stage is now traveling slower than the speed of sound. We got the stage 2 FTS being saved call out as well. That means stage 2 is up with its orbital insertion burn. Coming up, stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There we go. We got visual confirmation as well. Great views out there. That landing burn. Center E9 engine now lit. So with that, we are slowing down the vehicle furthermore very rapidly. Should be seeing those landing legs deploy any seconds now. There we go. Landing legs deployed.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And there we have it. A successful 469th landing of an orbital class Falcon 9 rocket. Although it got a bit of glitch at the time of landing, don't know why. Coming up next, we will have the second stage engine cutoff, also known as SECO 1, and following that event, and we already have the visual confirmation of the SECO 1, and following this event, the second stage with payload on board will enter into about 46 minutes of course phase. We got the call out for nominal orbit insertion and healthy call out there. So these were the callouts we were waiting for. Second stage engine cutoff as well as the confirmation of good nominal orbit. Now about the payload deployment at T plus 1 hour 2 minutes and 28 seconds into the flight, all of the payload, the Starlink satellites will be deployed. Today's launch marks SpaceX's 528th successful mission, with landing marking their 488th success. This launch also marked the 291st dedicated Starlink launch in total for SpaceX. So with that, we will wrap up our coverage for now. But before that, we want to thank all of you for tuning in to our live launch coverage and want to thank you with all our heart and soul. It's because it's impossible to do this broadcast without you and your encouragement. So thank you for your continued support of what we do here at AstroYonder. Also be sure to check out our social media handle on X for the latest happenings in space industry and updates on upcoming launches. Hope you enjoyed the stream. We appreciate everyone joining us for today's launch. Once again, thanks for watching and being with us. This is AstroYonder Live and me, Dipta, sign off for now. And we will see you on our next launch coverage for the USSF 36 launch that will be happening no earlier than August 21st as of now. So goodbye for now, and we will see you next time.